gay redditors who have been sent away to pray away the gay camps. What was your experience like and what went on behind closed doors? I have prayed and prayed, but those gay camps will just not go away. Lawyer friend's brother got sent away over a decade ago for the summer when he was about 16 to an all-boys retreat. It was much like described by other commenters, with guys touching each other for therapy, staring at each other in supervised showers and sitting in group being told their father was a poor male role model. My friend now works on cases involving suing these fake camps and shutting them down. P.S. His brother is now a fabulous dresser and has a great job in the fashion industry. I have an older friend who went to one because his father was disappointed in him for not being normal. Apparently one of the tests involved taping electrical pads to his testicles and forcing him to watch gay pee. If he got an erection then he was apt. Worked so swell that he married a lady, then divorced her because she was a lesbian, and he got a boyfriend. Yeah. My cousin did when he was like 17. It wasn't a pray away camp as much as a let's talk about our feelings. No religious connotation. They tried to get him to think that he was gay because his biological father was abusive to him and his mother, or that he was mad at his adoptive father, or he never forged a close bond with his mother. They tried to see if he just wanted to be different to stand out. Just all these odd scenarios. Realistically he had no memories of his bio father and has always called my uncle who married his mom and then adopted him. They have 2 kids that have always considered him nothing less than a full brother. They didn't know he was adopted till they were teenagers. He was very upset by the end of the week. He wanted his parents to know it wasn't them that caused this. Nothing caused it, it's just the way things are. They all sat down in a very open discussion. He never realized how upset his parents were and why. He wanted them to know he didn't see it as a bad thing and they shouldn't either. After that my aunt and uncle kind of gave in and accepted it. Much more over time. My cousin has been with his partner for at least 10 years now. He was just a special friend then boyfriend. We even had Christmas at their house last year. No one even cares anymore if they are gay or not. A real question. Why are these even allowed? Unless you're old enough to make the decision for yourself. That seems like mistreatment of your child. Because religion. Usually anyway. There are a few that are supposedly non-religious, but I find that somewhat dubious. This might not be the place, but I really need to vent. My dad did one of these camps. He was told, in the 70s and 80s, by his conservative church that it would be possible to live as a normal straight man if he tried hard enough. He conveniently had all the precursors they like to identify reasons for gayness: an abusive home, a bad relationship with his father, struggles with depression in his past. He fell for the whole thing, and as far as he thought, had prayed his way to being straight. When he married my mother, he didn't tell her of his past struggles. She had no idea until last year, 26 years after their marriage, when he told her he'd been having an affair with another man. They are currently separated and working towards divorce. I don't mind that he's gay. People can love who they want to love. What I care about is that for 20 of those years, he was absolutely horrible to my mother. He found insidious ways to undermine her faith in her abilities as a partner and a mother. He blamed all their marital problems on her, while all the while holding back the real one. It sounds one-sided, and it pretty much is. I love my dad, but he's been so damaged by 30 years of trying to convince himself that who he is wrong, and he's taken it out on us. The damage done by those camps and that system of thought has wreaked havoc on his sense of self. I've never known him to be an involved father. He has a history of violent outbursts, once against my mother, once against each of my brothers, and twice against me. He doesn't take a lot of interest in what we do or how we feel. Everything is about his internal struggle. I can see now that with issues such as these boiling away in him, it would have been impossible for some of them not to escape. Now that he's out of the closet, his whole identity is wrapped up in his gayness. It's odd for me, as someone of a generation that just gets on with it, to see someone so wholly embrace their sexuality as their entire identity. He's lived the last 30 years as a straight man, and now all his energy goes into this new self. He has no time for me or my brothers. I don't know what happens at these camps, but I know that having lived with someone who lived their success story, they're awful. Related question. Do these camps take both young gay men and women, or are there separate, dedicated camps for de-gaying lesbians? They do take both men and women, but they segregate them. Not all take both genders, but some do. I'm a straight Redditor who was sent to one because my best friend was gay and my Catholic parents thought we were dating. The big problem I have with this is that it makes it seem like the camp worked. It did not. I simply was sent there via a series of events suitable for a sitcom world. What happened there? Mine was officially billed as a church camp for unruly teenagers. It just so happened to largely rely on anti-gay therapy. That was a joke. There were prayer circles and abuse. A lot of late nights and early mornings, sing-alongs and Jesus talk. There was a room for solitary reflection that I got sent to a lot. It was terrifying. I'd go for day-long periods sitting in the room without food or water because I'd denied Jesus and refused to admit to a problem I didn't have. Not that being gay is a problem. It was just referred to as one here. Admittedly, I was 15 and a smartass. I like to disagree with people and I'm as headstrong as they come. It probably would have been smarter to just play along with the whole thing, pretend it was curing me. I didn't do that. I ended up running away from it after a week, borrowing a stranger's phone, and having a friend drive 6 hours to rescue me. As for what else went on at camp, I walked in on a camper hooking up with a counselor of the same sex at the obstacle course once. That was a thing. If you have any specific questions about the camp, I could probably answer them. You should write a book, no joke. I never went to a Pray Away the Gay camp, but I did go to a special psychologist that dealt with it. Maybe it was a psychiatrist. I don't know the difference, but he was a former gay man who had since turned his life over to God. The first, I think, 8 times, my mom went with me. This was moments after she found out that my lifelong friend and I were actually dating each other and having sex. For much of that time, we started around 12 and were together until senior year in high school. While we were there, the guy basically said that my desire to be with men was due to my desire to conquer the other man by having his penis in my mouth. The men in my life, not the psychologist, always on the search for a bigger and bigger penis. This was complete BS in my mind, because at the time I was taken to this guy, I was 15-16. I hadn't had even one penis in my mouth. When we had sex, it was literally just sex. That, and my guy, who was the only one I was with at all up to that point, was pretty small, maybe 4 inches, but I didn't care. I loved him. Starting on the 9th visit, I was going by myself. I was mostly doing this to appease my parents, as they were under the impression being gay, well, bisexual in my case, was a choice, and that I could change it if I wanted to. It was kinda nice getting some of the feelings out that I'd been keeping largely to myself. I've never kept a diary journal or anything. He's telling me about his former life, and how much he resented the fact that he found men attractive, and liked having sex with them. I'm telling him about how much I absolutely love my guy. I'm telling him how I didn't feel the slightest regret for what I'd done. I wasn't that big into religion as a kid, certainly not as much as my parents were. Heck, I'd had a 3-way with my guy and the pastor's son sometime shortly after these therapy sessions. Sometime after the 12th to 16th week, I started getting this creepy vibe from the guy, like he wanted to make a move on me. It was really weird and very uncomfortable. I've never been uncomfortable or weirded out by anyone, and I've known some creepy people in my life, but I just had that feeling about him. So I told my parents, and that was the end of that. To this day, we haven't brought it up, and my parents really don't even acknowledge that I'm into guys. It's always just you'll find the right girl someday. I hope I do, or even the right guy, someone. Dang, this post brought back way too many memories I'd had tucked away. Thanks a lot, OP. Always on the search for a bigger and bigger penis. I'm a straight married man and I'm on this same search. My search is limited to my own pants, though, and it fails. Every time. I spoke directly with Ted Cox, who tells about his experiences with these camps. One of the camp's theories is that a man is gay because of repressed feelings about his father, typically anger, so they would have you take a baseball bat and smash the heck out of a pillow, while being forced to yell things like, "I hate you, Dad." Then, they think gay men need to associate male contact with something non-sexual, so they, and I crap you not, sit 10 to 15 gay men down on the floor, sitting in each other's laps, or in between their legs, until they are all touching each other. See? Male contact, and absolutely nothing sexual about it. You're cured. I think I'm too straight. Maybe I should sit in a group of girls. That should help. Knew a guy who claimed he was sent to one. He said he never had more sex in his life than when he was sent away to a gay deprogramming camp. Can't verify, but don't let that get in the way of a good story and an excellent punchline. Can't verify, but don't let that get in the way of a good story and an excellent punchline. This should be Reddit's tagline. I didn't go to a camp, but when my brother outed me, my parents made me go to a reformed lesbian counselor and to family counseling, which ultimately was a pray the gay away shindig. I was 16 or 17 when we started going. My brother, who I adored my entire life, had somehow managed to steal my first girlfriend away from me. Dealing with a breakup and a betrayal was difficult enough, but I also was being told that I was going to heck by my parents, a counselor, and all these church folks. At one point, my parents drew up a contract that they forced me to sign to continue being allowed to live in their house. I nearly lost my mind. When I was 16, I asked to be admitted to the psych ward of a nearby hospital. I couldn't take the combination of huge, negative emotions I was going through. I stayed there a week, which did help me some. Unfortunately, I didn't talk to anyone there about what was going on at home. I stopped giving a crap about anything other than getting away from that place. I dropped out of school and went to live with a friend. I'm 30 now and have moved past most of this, but it's taken years and years of therapy. Not quite on topic, but pretty close. Let me preface this by saying at the time I was a non-denominational Christian, regularly attended church, and my father had always been a fairly liberal, pro-science type Christian. I am a female. When I was 18, I told my parents I was attracted to and dating a woman, and they flipped out and cried and told me it wasn't what Jesus would want. But I was young and in love and didn't care. So basically we just sat around and they tried to convince me it was a sin, and they cried a lot and just generally made me feel like crap. But I didn't back down. So my dad asked if I would be willing to go talk to the minister at church about this with him, and I agreed because I wanted to make him feel better. When we met with the minister, I was able to counter all of the sin stuff he said. The Bible isn't really as anti-gay as a lot of Christians make it out to be. The minister referred us to a Christian therapist and I agreed to go with my father, although mostly for his sake because I wasn't planning on changing anything. We went to this Christian therapist maybe 3 or 4 times. He talked to us separately and we read the Bible and prayed, and he tried to convince me it was a sin. I disagreed with him and told him I was happy with who I was. After the 3rd or 4th meeting like this, he told my father and I that there was nothing more he could do unless I recognized my sin and wanted to change, and I didn't. So that was that. But over the next few years my family was never okay with it. I learned to just not talk about it ever because it made them cry a lot. Now I'm 25 and dating a man, which my parents don't approve of either, but that's a different story. I never felt bad though about leaving them out of the loop about my love life, and that mostly stems from the way they treated me when I told them I was dating a woman. So like, the theory is that if you round up a bunch of gay teens and send them to camp together, they will become less gay. Won't they just frick the crap out of each other while they're at camp? I know I would. That is exactly what happens. I am going through that right now. I'm not in a de-gaying camp per se, but my parents are trying to pray away the gay, or more precisely the B, from me by putting me under home arrest and learning how to be closer to God. I don't think it's working though, but they don't have to know that. When I was younger I used to pray and pray that God would give me 2 hands. He never did, so I came to the realization that I'm just born this way and no amount of praying will change that. You can't change the way you are born. Either people accept you for that or they are not worth your time. I'm from Europe and never saw or heard of pray away gay camps, so pardon my ignorance. But how the frick should de-gaying work when you put a bunch of horny gay teenagers into one camp? Wouldn't that just literally create a big clusterfuck? When I was in elementary school, a kid who sat next to me in 4th grade suddenly stopped coming to school for about a month and a half. When he came back, he was a very different person than before. He prayed in class, which he caught a lot of crap for. He went out of his way not to associate with any of the boys in our class. When I asked him where he'd been, he said he went to another school for touching his cousin's wiener. I saw him around the halls and whatnot during 5th grade. He was always alone after that. I'll swear he went from being an awesome kid to a person who couldn't stand to be around other people. What the frick did they do to him? My ex's cousin was sent to one of these at 10 years old. I'll get some more info if interested. Whoa, so young. Please do. I have nothing interesting to say, so #feature me. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.